Namaskar. Trump and Modi, Trump 2.0 and Modi 3.0. How is this tango going to be? Geopolitically, what are the implications? Let's listen from Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel, sir. How are you?
Namaskar and thanks a lot. We are living in interesting times. A few days back, we were talking of LAC and disengagement, and suddenly we are talking of Trump and 2.0 and Modi 3.0. Uh, I think I'm looking forward to this discussion. Shoot away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And viewers, a lot has been talked about. Today, this is going to be a slightly different look at the overall thing at a 20,000 foot level, and what are the challenges facing these two big democracies. And I'll defer to General Ravishankar now. Sir, you can start from wherever you've been
Okay.
very close to the seat of power. I'll yield the floor to you, whichever format you'd like to tell this thing. We're going to tell you in the form of a story to keep it very engaging.
Yeah.
It is
This is a
coming live
story.
from, yes,
It's
and
a
it's
complete
coming
story.
live from, yeah. Sorry, sir. Let me just finish one little thing. It's coming live from both Ganeshot as well as P Gurus. A request to all of you to like this video. If you have not subscribed to either of these channels, to kindly do so respectively. Thank you, sir. I'll now yield the floor to you.
Thank you, sir. Well, first and foremost, I'll start with something which was, coined by President Obama and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. The India-US partnership will be the partnership of the century. They said it in the turn of the century, right? Uh, that was the time when China was still coming up and all that. But 25 years later, quarter of century gone, what do you see? The partnership is strong. And with Trump 2.0 and Modi 3.0, we're going to see a bump in this partnership. That's the way I look at it. Mainly for the reason, but both the leaders have a personal equation with each other, which I've rarely seen leaders having the way it is. Yeah, Prime Minister has a great equation with Putin, and he's got a great equation with Trump. He's also got a great equation with the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu. So he is a person who's been able to cultivate good people, influential people as personal friends. Uh, right. Now, having said this, before we see how the India US relationship will go about and what will be the impact in this part of the world or the world, the larger world, we need to understand what Trump 2.0 is going to be. I mean, the fundamental understanding. You would have heard this analysis from many people from many directions. Let me give it to you from the way I look at it. Trump, in a second term, will be more predictable in his unpredictability, right? That's the first thing. First time we didn't know what to expect from him. Now you know he's going to be unpredictable. So you go on neutral gear and shift gears the way you want as you go along. That's the first thing. But having said that, if you've seen his campaign speeches and his post-campaign talk, the way he's conducted himself in the Oval Office when he went to meet President Biden, you see there's a maturity about this man, which was not there earlier. There's a sure-footedness about this man. Uh, Probably those brash statements which he used to come out with are gone. And my own guess is I don't see too many of his tweets coming out. Earlier in his first term, he virtually ran the government through his tweets. And I don't know. Am I right or wrong, Sriji?
No, absolutely spot on, sir. One thing is he does still tweet quite a bit. There's an
No, no.
equivalent called Truth Social. Truth
Yeah.
Social is where
Okay.
he expresses his thoughts, and not many of us are on that platform. So I guess maybe we are not seeing it. But on X,
Not
he's almost very, very silent. You are right.
very right. So, that's the thing. One major difference between the first term and the second term will be this. In the first term, he had just entered office and he was not sure of the loyalty factor of all the people whom he had appointed. He appointed them more on reputation and persona and CV and things like that. He probably didn't have a feel of each person, and he had to rely on them. That's why you saw a whole lot of guys getting sacked as Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense and things like that. Even I think the National Security Advisor Jack Bolton got sacked, and Jack Bolton was supposed to be one of his uh, deep supporters. That turmoil was there. But now, Trump 2.0, all the nominees are his loyalists. They've stood by him for the past 4 years. Right? That's what it's very clear. And they will do his bidding. And to a large extent, loyalty has been a great factor in the appointment of all these people. Whether they are up to the task or not is the question mark. I mean, let me, barring a few, whether they'll be up to the task or not is a question mark, because the American system and the American, high officers wield a lot of power, and that power is just not domestic; it goes outside also. So what they say, what they talk, it has an international impact. Uh, Having seen so many governments come and go throughout my life, I have not seen such a, what shall I say, a voluble government coming into place in America ever. I've never heard so many people talking, giving out their own, stories. Probably the equivalent of this, a rough equivalent, was a time when our Prime Minister took over in the first term, when people did speak, right? You did find a few people doing the act, motor mouth act. Okay. So that's the first thing. And from what one can see is that every chap who's coming into a ministry seems as if he's against the ministry. I mean, just think, he might have his intentions, he might have his ideas, but if you're going to go into a ministry and head that ministry or the department and say, look, all of you chaps are useless, I'm going to sack all of you, that department won't function. Then the whole government will freeze. So there's a danger of Trump 2.0. I mean, we'll see how it plays out, because already the Attorney General and the Defense Secretary and all, there are a lot of chat around them. And from my own experience, I think if they go with that negative mindset of going to sack the thing and clean the stables, then you'll keep cleaning the stables. And then one fine day you'll find the horses run away because you're cleaning the stables. That's the danger. And that's something we have to be alive. I'm not being for or against the thing. I'm giving you based on what you can expect and what statements have come out so far. So, and plus, if this is so, then the USA will be largely inward looking, because everyone will be looking inside how to clean his stables up. Okay, you'll have a clean stable, but outside is a problem. And remember, USA is a hegemon. It virtually, people have come out with statements how to run the world. They're intellectuals when they talk. We run the world the way this is. So will they do it? If the world isn't run by USA the way they think they should be run, or so far not, and if USA withdraws, then the world is on its own. So if the world is on its own, what happens? I mean, just think. Then India is on its own to a large extent. Russia is on its own. China is its own. So you got to have some degree of neutrality going around, and this neutral gear shift will bring in a certain amount of uncertainty or chaos. Then people will have to start fending for themselves. Then people will hedge. So that is a live issue which we have to factor in when we talk of what to expect from the Trump administration. Whether they will get over it within the first month, 2 months, 3 months is to be seen. And plus, some of these people are quite greenhorn kind of guys, with not much experience. Okay. Now, when you put a guy like that on top of an empire, because each department is an empire of its kind, which has got global reach. Right? He doesn't know what to do. And, I mean, look, they would know, but unless you sit on the chair, you don't realize the depth of that chair, what you're standing on. And this is my personal experience. When you go and sit on the chair, you become the chair. You're no more, look, when I became the Director General of Artillery, I said, I'll do this, I'll do that. The day I sat down, I was no more PR Shankar. I was Lieutenant General PR Shankar, Director General of Indian Artillery. Now that gives a whole lot of different responsibility because so many new angles come up, so many things we change. And that change, if you are not clear as to what you're going to do, you could get swept away. So this is the thing with Trump 2.0, which we'll have to watch. It might not happen like that, but there are good chances of this happening. And like I said, there'll be a period of inward looking. Uh, Everyone will start looking inward. And that's the time when you'll see that, look, people will start hedging outside. Countries will start hedging. And India has to start hedging. Are we hedging enough? I think if India can't hedge, no other country can hedge. Because you're friend to all at this point, Vishwamitra, Vishwabandhu bolo, jo bhi bolo. So you have the best credentials. So to that extent, I'm not worried. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, the next thing is the world is in a disarray. Okay. And a lot of things. And in this kind of a disarray, with wars going on in East China Sea and South China Sea and Middle East and Ukraine and a lot of things going on simultaneously. Climate change is coming. Then digitalization and fakes and AI. So a lot of cross currents in the air. Now, in this, there's a huge undercurrent which is coming with the Trump administration. There's a clear anti-China, expectation. I'll say expectation. Why? Because Chinese expect think that Trump is going to come up with a whole lot of tariffs. He's going to be against us. Um, the Secretary of Defense, the NSA, and everyone is anti-China, right? Secretary of State, they're all China hawks, and so they're worried in China. So that is going to be an underlying factor in this administration, which is going to help us, or is a major factor which we have to put it into our whole story. Uh, and my view is at the outset, let me say, India has to focus in this relationship on its security first. It's not economy. I'm not joking. Economy will take care of itself. If there's a problem we have, it is security. If your security is okay, economy will fall in place. Okay. Gone are the days when Clinton would say it's the economy is stupid. I don't think so. It's the security stupid because if you don't have security, there's no economy. So to that extent, if the Trump administration comes out being hawkish on China, it's a good thing for us. And we need to make good this opportunity. It's an opportunity which doesn't come easily. Luckily for India, for the past 10 years, 12 years, we've been riding on this wave. After all, go back ever since Obama demitted office and Trump started his trade war. He was the one, after all, who started Quad. He was the one who started the Indo-Pacific construct. Biden took it forward, and now he's going to come back. These are going to be very strong. So that is a very, very, very major factor for us, which will put us in the center of global dynamics. And add to this the NSA and the Secretary of State. I mean, I don't know much about the Secretary of Defense, but definitely the Secretary of State and NSA. Both are for India to a large extent. Am I right in my
Yes, yes,
assessment? Right.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
there are a few others who are also this thing, who are also for India, who feel India should not just be a partner, should be a major ally. So they will come at us with this thinking. Look, let's become allies. Now, this is where we have to see whether you want to take this partnership to a higher level or leave it at that. But going down is out of question. And then Their expectations from us will be very high. Like I said, it's easy to say we want India as our ally when you're out of office, and it's very difficult to hear a no from India when you go out and say, "Look, be my ally." India says, "I can't be your ally." So this kind of a mismatch in expectations is something which we need to be alive and handle it. So our conditioning of these incoming, ministers, Trump's ministers, has to be very clear as to how we're going to handle this whole story. Okay, but then having India-friendly nominees is something great. This is the first time I'm seeing in a long time where you have so many people who are either connected with India or are India friendly, both ways. So I think that gives us a huge head start, right? Well, one thing let me make it clear. Although they might have India for leaning towards India or India friendly attitudes, their interests are going to be first American, just as our interests have to be always Indian. Indian first and Baki later. Same thing they will also have. To that extent, a transactional relationship at that point of time is okay. And then we have to see how to have a game plan with China. It need not be stated. It largely it needs to be unstated. And how you know China is going to be hit with tariffs is a great opportunity for India. Look, what happens if China is hit with tariffs? If China is hit with tariff, its exports won't go out. That's the basic thing. So if those don't go out, then someone has to replace that. It can't happen. After all, every zipper in USA comes from China. Okay, and you can't wish away China today in the global supply chain, and after all, China is still the manufacturer of the world and will remain so. So, okay. But in the past 5 years, what have we done about it? Make in India, Atmanirbharta, all that. Have we done anything much? We have done some, but I think there's a whole lot more to do. In fact, I must tell you, just this weekend, coming weekend, I'm going to talk to local manufacturers, small scale manufacturers. They've asked me, look, sir, can you give us a view as to what we should do to do import substitution from within India? People say China plus one. Can you explain to us how to go about doing this China plus one for export and things like that? So there's an opportunity. People are willing to learn. The government needs to step up and ensure this is done. Otherwise, the opportunity is lost. So far, it's countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, maybe even initially even Bangladesh to some extent. Of course, now Bangladesh is in a bad shape. Those countries have benefited, right? And I think it's time we start benefiting with big ticket issues and, you know, somehow ensure, give confidence to the administration and the business community in USA to come and invest in India. And then you can get off the investment from China. Why do you need investment from China? Okay, if you read yesterday's or today's Foreign Affairs, there's one article about India where the authors have very nicely said, while India is trying to, you know, buttress the LAC and ensure security of the borders, at the same time, we are allowing more of economy to get in, Chinese economy to get into our innards, and that means they're doing a backdoor entry. They don't have to come across the wall when they can come the sea route and the trade route into India, and then we'll have problems. With great difficulty, we threw them out to a large extent. We need to, and then here I would like to very clearly say, look, what are our dependencies on China? It's API, it's small electronics, and things related to solar cells and panels and all that. I think India needs to use this opportunity to say, look, we'll give the world everything, all these three. Okay? We'll give everything to the whole world. Invest in us. Create that equity here to say we'll be the alternate for all these. If we make APIs, I was discussing with someone who's very, I wouldn't say very experienced, very senior to me. He was once the finance secretary of India, incidentally. Right? I was discussing with him yesterday. He said, Shankar, you know what? The API thing, I keep talking to people. They say, sir, we set up a few API based industries here. In fact, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu has set up a few factories here in Andhra after he's taken over, and they have started producing. But the moment they start producing, our export market is increasing, and we still need more. So that's why we are not able to get reduce our APIs from you know source from China. So I think somehow we need to do the jump, the leap of faith, what the jo bhi bolo, and ensure that FDI from USA comes to us so that our industries and our basic essentials are met here rather than going for everything to USA. And that will do a lot of good. It's an opportunity. So far, let me be very frank, we missed the bus on this. Okay. Now, having said this, I've on trade, we must also expect a few tariffs from Trump. Let's be very clear. He's made that two double-sided statement earlier. When asked about Prime Minister, he's a damn good person. When asked about tariffs, he said, "Oh, India, cheats on tariffs and things like that." So let's expect this thing very clearly that you will be under a lens for tariffs. So we're going to have a difficult time for economy. We're going to have a tough time on tariffs. Difficult time is for us in the sense, unless you have a plan in place now, we still have time. And so that you look at 3-4 years, throughout this next 4 years of tenure, you should have pole vaulted out of your problems and you should have kept China at bay. I completely disagree with the economic advisor of India who said, let China come invest and do all that. Look, it's again very funny. China is looking for investments from USA. Okay, and why are we looking at investments from China? Why can't we short circuit those investments to come to India? That is the uh, thing. Okay, so having said this, let me shift to geopolitics now, which is very, very important. And here I think we will come into our own. What are the indications coming from Mr. Trump so far? He said, "Look, I don't want to start wars. I like to finish wars," which means he wants to finish off the Ukraine Russia war. And the indication from Russia so far is that yes, it's on the cards. That's what Mr. Putin has said in the first thing, that he'll look at it positively. He's also told Benjamin Netanyahu, finish off your story before the whole thing. But there's an interesting thing which happened. I think yesterday, Elon Musk sat for an hour with the Iranian ambassador in, I think, New York or Washington and had a talk. And what's happened in that talk, it's not come out. But the fact that he's had a 1 hour guftugu with him has come out very clearly. So you could expect a few moves here. And that benefits India a lot. It benefits India for, let's take the Russia case. What happens in Russia? To finish off the Russia-Ukraine deal, whatever the problem is, or to get them to the table, US will play a hand. But who's the chap both trust to sit on the table and help India? I've always been saying that India has got the best credentials for being a mediator between Russia and Ukraine. And this is not what I said. This is what the Ukrainian PM says. This is what the Mr. Putin says, and this is also what Farid Zakaria said once. So, in that context, I think we'll have a huge role to play. And if peace comes about there, then you are in a pole position of getting out of the problem of whether you want to go towards Russia, or you want to go towards USA. That problem will be out. One. Number two, what will happen? Some modus operandi or some stability will be there between Europe, Ukraine, and Russia, which means some kind of a trade, something will start. Then Russia will stop looking towards China for everything. In fact, this might be a masterstroke by Trump if he can do that. He can break the Russia China alliance or the friendship with no limits and put limits on that friendship. Then it'll be a great thing for us also. Okay. Let's look at the Middle East. Again, in the Middle East, I don't think USA will be able to make much headway again without India on its side. Why? Iran. Iran is someone they have they've opened this door through Elon Musk. That's the way I look at it. And Iran wants us also in the deal. That's what Khamenei has said. Okay. So whatever happens in the Middle East and West Asia, I think we are on the deal. And we need Iran. Let's be very clear. I mean, I'm being very clear. I said this earlier also. We need Iran because you want to go to Afghanistan, you need Iran. And incidentally, for those of you who are not familiar with what's happened, Afghanistan has appointed a consul. That is, Taliban has appointed a consul, and that consul now is in Bombay. So we are opening some. We are not recognized the Taliban government, but there's a Taliban consul in Bombay. So some kind of a opening is there. Why? We want to squeeze Pakistan. Let's be very clear. We want to squeeze Pakistan. Okay. And this is something I'm going to talk of tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, those of you, not tomorrow, Sunday. Sunday evening, I'm going to talk. My subject is how India is putting the Afghan squeeze on Pakistan. Okay. So for that, you need Iran. And you need to give Afghanistan out through Chabahar. Already we pumped in wheat through that direction. So we need to start trading. And their minister has come last month or early this month. He's seen Chabahar. He's convinced. So that's going to start. That means you need Iran. And to deal with Iran, you need USA. And USA needs Iran to give an off ramp to the Middle East crisis. So our interests are convergent. If your interests are convergent, I expect some action to take place. Whether it will happen the way I am saying, or am I being too optimistic, I don't know. But definitely there is something in the offing. Okay. Then let's come to our neighborhood. I think that's very important and critical for us. Sri Lanka has just finished its elections, and the SLP has got some kind of a majority of Anurag Dissanayake. So we see some stability there, and they are already started leaning towards India, where I'm okay there. Even Maldives, I'm okay with the situation. Pakistan. Today, there's a article in Diplomat where it indicates that Pakistan is in for a rough time with Trump. After all, it was Trump in the first instance who said that we're not going to give aid to Pakistan, and he was this thing. So Pakistan is in trouble. And Pakistan will be pressurized to choose between to choose between China and USA. Pakistan had got some modus vivendi or whatever you call it with USA till now with the Biden administration in the last 2 years or the last 1 year. That is going to get upset, and that's the expectation in Pakistan. So Pakistan is not going to have an easy run. And like I said, if Pakistan doesn't have an easy run and USA needs to keep Afghanistan stabilized, Afghanistan is required to be stabilized to keep China out also. And there to keep China out of Afghanistan means that India and USA have to be on the same equation. And then it's good to keep Pakistan under pressure from on the Durand line through the Taliban and Afghanistan. So there you see the interests converge, and it will be in U.S. interest to keep Pakistan under a tight fist. It's in our interest also. So that will happen. That I'm sure will happen, especially considering the fact that the ministers or the secretaries or the departments who come in who have a view on Pakistan, and that will only get amplified. They'll first play it out, and I see this happening because there's a whole lot of Pakistani journalists in the lobby which is active in America, coming out with some vague questions and all that about Champions Trophy and all that. A question was asked on Champions Trophy in White House. Okay, it's very funny. Incidentally, talking of Champions Trophy, Pakistan and all, tomorrow General Asnin and I are going to talk about Champions Trophy, the coercion which Pakistan is doing, Sino-Pak ties and all on Gunner Shot tomorrow evening. But that's a different day tomorrow. So So Pakistan is going to be in a spot. Coming to Bangladesh, बांग्लादेश में तो मातम है, वो रो रहे हैं. Yeah, it's now very clear. If you see, read Bangladesh dailies, you read their news items and everything. Oh, there are a lot of explanations as to why the Democrats lost, why Kamala Harris lost, how that loss is so bad for humanity and all that. You know, those Rona Dona starts. And even Mr. Professor Yunus is not very happy because after all, he was installed by the Democratic, bigwigs. After all, it was Clinton, Obama, and all that. And through that, they've put him in. And now there's a lot of story which is coming out. Their bias against ISKCON temples, and there are a lot of things. And they're trying to change the constitution, which they can't. They say illegal government to start with. And now they won't have anywhere to go. Earlier, they were all saying, "Oh, US will come and dump money here and all." Mr. Trump will just tighten the screw. In fact, he'll forget about it. If I see what happened last time, he just let India do the thing. He gave India the lead when, uh, Sri Lanka was going down during the COVID period, if I remember well. He gave India the lead to handle Maldives also those days. He gave India the lead to deal with Nepal, Bangladesh, and all these countries. So that will come back right now. And Bangladesh has to now come to a new understanding with India. That's the strength we get out of this. But the danger in this is China. Because Bangladesh shouldn't start turning towards China. Why I'm saying the danger is at the grassroots level, the bulk of the students who this thing are all communists. They're hardly, followers of or hardcore followers of Yunus. They're all communists at the base level. So that problem we have to be very clear will be there, and we have to handle Bangladesh well. But the flip side of the story is Bangladesh will have no choice but to turn towards India. So we have a lot of work to do. Then, of course, I come back to China. How do we deal with China? How do we deal with China militarily? Will we go back to Quad? Will Quad get re-energized the way it is and not become just an economic framework? It doesn't function. What will be the Indo-Pacific, that quadrilateral or the Indo-Pacific construct? What will happen there? And how will India and already India and USA were cooperating very well in the defense field. On the defense, look, irrespective of who's been in power, the India-US defense connect has been the best, whether it's with Democrats or with the Republicans. So if with the State Department also kicks in well, which I expect Mr. Rubio to do that, he will. It is a natural thing. Then the Indo-Pacific construct will become stronger. And I think India and USA have a very large role to play uh, in the Pacific and in the Indo part of the whole story. And this is my sense. And I think it's time we got hold of the Chagos archipelago, starting from Lakshadweep to Maldives to Digo Garcia, strengthen Andaman Nicobar, strengthen Agalega, strengthen Dukum Port and Oman, and you know ensure the choke points of Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Eden, and the Malacca Straits are under our control, positive control, not negative control. Not कि कोई गया आया ये नहीं, positive control, and maybe by and then India and USA can act together, put pressure on Iran so that Iran eases off on these Houthis and all these fellows. So I see a lot of positives coming out. Of course, there are dangers in this whole story, and yeah, let me see what else I have to put across to all of you. If I did make notes, but I've not really referred to them. Yeah, like I said, Pakistan is heading into trouble. China tariffs, we'll have to see how to, not China, the Trump tariffs. We'll have to see how to negotiate with them. The way I look at it, rather than facing tariffs and things like that, let the American firms invest here, make yourself a manufacturing base, and leave the marketing and selling to America, like Apple. Then you're not bothered about the Trump administration is more interested in the American story, which is based in India, rather than India trying to sell stuff. So we'll have to think imaginatively. We have to really think out of the box. Uh, from a domestic point of view, I think we need to do a few issues. One is killing. You have a huge demographic bulge, and that needs to be skilled. Already, there are enablement centers here. About 15 to 20 enablement centers, international enablement centers in India, which are exporting skills abroad. This is open, I wouldn't say secret, but it's not much in the news, but it is happening. Okay, over the past 5, 6 years, I know 3 enablement centers for which I was a advisor, which have been set up in Tamil Nadu. So about 15 is what I know, maybe more. So we need to go on that route, soft route, be a knowledge economy, increase skilling of the young people. And, whether you like it or not, immigration people will say Trump will have a problem. I'm not too bothered about it. At the end of the day, America, which has very poor birth rates, needs immigration. You need immigrant to work. You need people to come and fix electric lines, plumbing, small things to do. Where will you do that? And if you have people, they will go. I mean, right? Then you have this digital economy. Digital economy is a huge plus for us. Okay. Yeah, he might say a few guys can't get H1B1, yeah, all that. Okay, don't go there. Get others to invest here. Open up here. Who's stopping us to employ those guys here and get big corporations to open up their centers here? I mean, I know software or Google or many of these have their offices here, and with counterparts from here, China and USA working on the same project. So expand that mode. Who's stopping us? And get our own unicorns out, get our startups going. This is the opportunity to get our startups going. But for that, you need to do some regulatory issues within the government. Because the problem with our startups is how do they scale up? What are the financial issues? Those are the issues which we need to look at. And the last thing, don't let Chinese in. I mean, I said this earlier also on Gunner Shot, but I would like to tell it on with P Guru's channel. So many of you are viewing it, and you'll put some upward pressure to whomever you know. The problem of China, see, China came here to set up solar cell factories and things like that. And there were certain rules and regulations which had to be followed. When people went into it, some of these factories never existed. Where they were not, you couldn't, as per the permissions given, Chinese people could not be appointed as directors, but the company secretaries who were appointed by the Chinese and the CAs both did fudging and ensured that those directors continued. The moment the directors continued, you could not go against them. This has happened. Fraud. So if you get Chinese investment into India, you're getting a whole lot of fraud into India. And let me be again very open and honest and clear here. There are enough number of dishonest people in India. I've made this on greedy CAs and company secretaries and lower level people who'll just you put money in their hands and peanuts. It's not only at a great level. Peanuts you put and they'll do whatever the Chinese fellow says. And for that, the government doesn't have a defense. For all you know, some of our local politicians itself will do it. This is the state of our politicians. They don't have any, remorse on this that you're helping the enemy or adversary and all. वो तो करेंगे, वो पैसा चाहिए. They want to win elections, so and that's the state. That's the reality of India. while we might all talk good about India, I'd like to be good about India, I'm proud about India, but the reality also we can't run away from. So it is in India's interest to keep China out. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to do so. And we need to concentrate again, three, four major things to get off China: API, go in PLI route, FDI route, whatever it is, open up API, factories for API, right? Uh, get in for solar cells, start manufacturing in scale, okay? And uh, your digital components. Already you have, semiconductors being manufactured here. All those are up. The packaging of semiconductors is to happen. All these are on en route. But I think we need to do more. How we step up? How we step up is a challenge for us. I think with Trump 2.0, we have a great opportunity in economics, in geopolitics, in diplomacy, and everything. And this, if we can be part of the system where we can get peace in Ukraine or even in Middle East. Middle East, I'm not so hopeful. It'll take time because there are deep-rooted problems there. But Ukraine, Russia can end. Both Russia and Ukraine are at the tether's end, right? In which case, it'll open the door for the Security Council permanent seat also. And America has always been, irrespective of which government has been in USA, America has always backed India for a permanent seat council and reforms of the UN. So I think we have opportunities. The dangers are within. It's not Trump. We know he's going to be unpredictable. Prepare for it. Okay. But how do you react? Am I doubtful about my prime minister? No, he's good. He'll handle it. But I am doubtful about his second run, and I am doubtful about the states. Will they step up to the whole bargain? Is the question mark. Right? I have outlined a lot of things, Shreya, your questions, and then we can go to others. I hope I made it a little interesting and different from what you have heard so far.
Absolutely, sir. Wonderful stuff. So I just want to add a couple of observations to what good general said. I'm just going to show you some products made in China. Was made in China. Out of 4, 1 is being made in India. This is iPhone. Made in China. Much of this is made in China. Made in China. I'll tell you what, these are all opportunities for India. All of these can be made in India, including this fantastic product, solid state drive, 4 terabytes. I can carry this thing, which means that anything in my laptop, I can keep it for, peace at night. I know that my backup is here. This can be made in India. What is missing? If you have been following P Gurus, you know what is missing. See, one of the most pertinent points that General Ravi Shankar brought up: how do startups scale up? By taking their company public. Is the National Stock Exchange a fair ground for efficient price discovery? Not until they take care of the crooks who are still running around. Like that, you will see at every point of, where the gate is there to go to the next level, you will see somebody already sitting there making money off of the existing system. This is exactly what General Ravi Shankar has been pinpointing, and I'm so happy that he's basically summarizing what I've been trying to do for the past 6-7 years. Every book I wrote is about all these things, where the thing has been congested to a particular way because it suits some people at the expense of the larger people. This is where things are, and he's spot on when he says Prime Minister is ready, next rung, and the bureaucracy and the states, especially the states, their mindset is always to how to win elections, not to do good for the people. And the people are still so burdened by their day-to-day problems that they don't have that thing to lift their head up and see what these did that we are missing and what could be for us. API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredients in pharma. API stands for application programming interface in computer software. I hope that clarification helps, because many people are asking, sir. So now let's take a few questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ramya, thank you so much for becoming YouTube member. Partha wants to know why are the Chinese so eager to say they are not afraid, nervous? Trump versus 66 generation space fighter.
That's a good question, Partha, but they're very nervous. When I see some of their media, right, especially you go to Guancha and see the Chinese media, uh, 50 to 60% of their headlines are all for Trump, USA, EAO. They're worried. And why they're worried, you need to understand. The worry, it's not eager. They are worried. They're worried because they internally they're not doing well. Now it's very clear that the stimulus which they have given so far is not working. Yeah, some bounce will be there. If you put so much money, something will bounce. But largely, it's not working, and even in the long thing, it will not work. And they're all investing into the supply side, not the consumer side. And I don't think the Chinese consumer is ready to consume. They're worried. Okay. And there are a few other things which are happening in China. They are not connected. But in chaos theory, everything comes. There's a method to this madness. I'm going a little off track, but sometime back there was a biking incident in China. It started in June. Okay, four bikers went from one place to the other to have dumplings, and they drove at night. A 5 hour biking up and down. Then this started. More people joined. More people joined. Initially, the Communist Party were behind them. Oh, good, lot of community work. Wo. Till one day, that whole highway was jammed by bikers, and the Communist Party is very, finicky about crowds. They've closed that biking thing. It used to happen every night. I'll talk of this on Sunday in detail. And then you see, day before yesterday, there was a event where 35 Chinese and 40, 35 Chinese were killed and 43 were wounded in some kind of a, I wouldn't know how to put it. It's something like four events in USA happening, shooting one by one happened in one go in China. So is there a new trend happening in China? Underground rumblings. Okay. So these are all, a chap who's not happy with life. He was 62 years old. He goes and rams into a crowd of people and kills 35 on immediately, and 43 deep, heavily injured. It's not easy. This is the first time one is hearing these things happening. So there is a lot happening in China, which we the pulse is not very great there. Yeah.
Next one, please. Pankaj Sinha wants to know, sir, the Trump cabinet is full of China hawks. Will Pakistan try to double cross the USA with China as they did during the Taliban offensive?
Look, the days for Pakistan to double cross anyone are over. The only person Pakistan can double cross is themselves. Okay, they can double cross themselves against China, against Pakistan, against themselves, against Taliban. No one believes the Pakistani anymore. And that is why they are being left to their, you know, whatever they want to do, karte raho. So I don't think Pakistan is in a position to do this.
Next one, please. Anuradha wants to know, what about our investment in Sri Lanka now?
It'll be okay. Don't worry, because that. In fact, okay. I was 2 days back or last week. Last week I traveled from Chennai to Hyderabad, and I was traveling with a Sri Lankan businessman. So I was asking him what's the state of affairs there internally. 1 hour flight, we kept talking about Sri Lanka, and he was probably a little eager to tell what's happening also. The moment I asked him, I find that they're okay. They might not be very good, very rich, no, but they might not going to be. They're not going to. Their economy is not going to bounce back thing. But two things are there. They are happy with what they have. They acknowledge India as their friend. That's the first thing. And second, they have seem to have realized that China is not going to do good to them. Okay, and they have no other option but to come to India. So to that extent, I think we are on a very good wicket with Sri Lanka. And this, though, Dissanayake is a Marxist by nature, uh, he's also largely rebranded himself. For those of you who don't know, 4 months before the election, 4 months before the presidential election, he came to India. He toured India. He came to Delhi, got briefed. He went to Bombay, went to Bangalore, and he was shown India to see, yeah, this is what will happen to you if you are on our wicket. If you are on the Chinese wicket, you will go where you are gone all now. And that was at the peak of their distress. That was the time when we were giving them that $4 billion loan and all that line of credit, giving them, you know, oil and petrol and all that. So that was then he. So I think there is a change. Uh, I'm not too worried about Sri Lanka. In fact, I'm hopeful.
Next one, please. Two questions from Chirantan. First for you, sir. Where do you see India's Atmanirbharta and military under Trump? Are we heading towards MAGA versus Make in India clash?
Look, that won't happen. Let me be upfront about it. What we're going to buy from, see, there is something different happening in the Indian's defense industry, which you need to understand. And I'll take a couple of minutes to explain. At one end, we need high tech equipment, which we are not yet capable of making. Let's be very clear about it. Right? We have to invest in it. We have not done. And even now, our ministry and our services have not invested into this. So we will have to still get, bombers, aircraft engines, certain types of aircraft also, certain types of many things, which you'll have to get from abroad. And then that you'll have to go either to Russia or to USA and some maybe to Israel. Israel, I don't think we'll be able to go now. Or France. These three are your main sources. If you are smart, you'll go to Germany because Germany will now give you anything they want to get out of the Chinese grip. That is why Olaf Scholz came here. And there is some movement towards Germany. So we will have to depend on Germany, France, Israel, USA, and Russia for certain high tech items. Let's be very clear. But what is happening otherwise, we have now got a lot of capability to export. Things like rocket systems, guns, ammunition, missiles, spares. That we have a capability of exporting, and that is taking off. If you're not heard, recently France has started looking at our Pinaka guided rocket system, right? And that's our equivalent of HIMARS. See, a lot of hue and cry has been made of HIMARS in Ukraine. We have it. In fact, I put a video out on that also. And I've written an article. Monday, it'll be there in the Financial Express. Have a look at it. Okay. Uh, and I'm going to do a video next week on this whole story. But that's gone into the export list. We are capable of exporting guns. We are capable of exporting missiles. We exported BrahMos missiles to Philippines, and others are also interested. So while we continue to import, there is a export line which has started, and they're small items and volume. Especially, we have a great opportunity in spares for tanks and vehicles and things like that. Because a lot of countries around us have Russian equipment. And those Russian equipment, Russia is not able to give them spares, which we have. We have the capability to do so. So we have to look at that. So this is a work in progress. Okay. Uh, so I think we'll have to be patient about this whole thing. But I see a turnaround happening. That's the thing. Now, the second thing about deporting illegal Indian immigrants, well, if they've gone illegally and Trump says, I want to deport them, so be it. And, this is a question which we have to ask ourselves. I saw this today. I understand that 50% of the illegal immigrants are Gujaratis. And this is come in black and white. So the Gujarat model, Gujarat, everything has to be seen. Why are people from Gujarat going there illegally? in train loads and bucket loads and ship loads and aircraft loads. Gujarat, the kind of structure which has been built up and the kind of industries which are being pumped into Gujarat should keep these people rooted back in Gujarat. So I think this is something we have to look at. And if a few people are deported from USA, illegal entry, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Some sense will come into us also. After all, I can't vouch for every Indian, but there are enough Indians who know how to break the law at the drop of the hat. And we need, if you want to progress, you need to be a disciplined society, a law-abiding society, which today we are not. If you want to be progressive, you have to be law-abiding. I mean, this is my country. I know I live on streets here, right? I deal with people, I deal with students, I deal with all kinds of people. So I think we have to view it in the broader sense. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And viewers, I'm going to be putting out a monologue in a few hours' time on what is going on with these illegal immigrants now. A new strategy by NGOs to do something funny. I will be explaining that also to you. And I couldn't agree with more with General Ravi Shankar. He's also a professor, as a matter of fact. He's a professor
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
IIT Chennai,
Eh,
IIT Madras,
yeah.
Chennai. And so do watch that one, because there are lots of undercurrents also going on. Next one, please. Manov-san wants to know, is Bonami back? Are GE engines back on and BRICS take a back seat? Let's take one at a time. Sir, GE engines and
Look,
BRICS.
G engines is too early to say. Let's see. We should wait for the government to come into place and then we'll see about G engines. BRICS won't take a back seat. BRICS is a moment of its own, but it will not have the hype which you saw it having in Russia. And to that extent, I'm okay. A subdued BRICS is good for the world. Now, Khalistanis won't be shelved because there's a problem which will continue, Trump or no Trump. Look, just by Trump and his another 12, 15 Americans coming and sitting in high places won't change the nature of America. The fundamental problems of America will take a long time to change. Okay. So I don't see the Khalistani problem going away. But what I do expect is them leaning on Trump leaning on Trudeau, because their equation is not good. So he will lean on him. So then let's see how things work out. Russia US mending crucial. I've already said so. And there's no doubt about it. That's why I said we have an important role to play in US Russia mending, Ukraine US Russia mending. If you can play a role in Ukraine Russia mending and then play a role in US Russia mending, then you can break the China Russia axis. It is critical to us. Yeah. So
Next
this
one,
is
please.
how it is. Yeah.
Tiger Hawk wants to know, if the Khalistan shelter they have experienced in the past will continue, what is the long-term solution to end the Khalistan issue?
Yeah, let's propagate for Khalistan in Canada.
No, they themselves are saying that now. They themselves are saying that.
Let them do. Yeah, how are we bothered? Khalistan में करने Canada Khalistan में हो या कहीं हो कर हमें क्या लेना देना? As far as not within India, there's no, and in India it'll never come. Let me be. Yeah.
General Ravi Shankar, I'm reminded of one interesting line in Apollo 13, the movie. The famous line there is, Houston, you have a problem. With Khalistan, Canada, you have a problem.
No, it's no more Canada. It's Canada. Yeah.
Canada.
Canada, whatever you call it. Yeah.
Next one.
Okay.
Ask General Sree Iyer how India will deal with the Elon Musk considering his business interests in various industries.
Elon Musk is still not entered India, so I think we have some time to go. Will he come into India with with Tesla? I don't know whether he'll have time to handle everything. He's after all got a department of to clean up the Augean stables of USA. So let him do that.
Next one, please. Pseudoscientist wants to know, Canada is experiencing the same with Chinese scammers and Indian scammers. What is to be done about that?
Yeah, well, this is something you can't do anything sitting here. Let Canada experience it. That all the best to them.
Next one, please. Srinivas Kambam wants to know, he's saluting you, General Ravi Shankar. Namaste, Sri Iyer. Cloud of capacity has been built up in solar photovoltaic cell manufacturing. The problem these units are facing is Chinese dumping.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be tough with them. There's no doubt about it. There's where a lot of fraud took place. In fact, there's one person, pseudo scientist or something like that. I don't remember. He said, "No, no, you don't know what you're talking, and I'm a company secretary, and there's no fraud happening." Look, he's just one person doing. If he's a company secretary, he's only one person. They can't talk for all the guys, and all companies are not, painted in white in India. In fact, in India, a lot of companies are painted in gray and black only. All right. Let's be very clear. This is how it is. They evade taxes. They do all kinds of nonsense. They bribe their way through and things like that. I've seen it up close. Let's be very clear. So, and the fact that Chinese have done fraud here, not only dumping, they've done defrauded India, and Indian company secretaries and Indian chartered accountants have helped the Chinese in do this defrauding is documented. It is written in, Business India, Business Insider, or things like that. It's there. This is not my own imagination. You scratch the surface, a lot of dirt will come out.
Next one, please.
Yeah,
Thank you, Srinivas MS. Sir, what will happen to initiatives taken by current government like ICET, IMEC
I said, yeah,
corridor? Yeah.
yeah. I said we'll have to work on it. I said to some extent is coming through. You see, if you see, I said for those of you who don't understand, is initiative in critical and emerging technologies. So, as far as ISET is concerned, we have now started packaging semiconductors. Semiconductors will be made. Like I said, we have to focus on ISET and take value out of it and expand the digital space in India. If you can't go abroad, if immigration is a problem, get investment into India and get spread into India. So I see a lot of value. It will come through. I have no doubt about it. IMEC will take time. IMEC will take time for the simple reason the Israel part end has to connect. See, the other end of IMEC is Haifa. So for that, you need peace between Hezbollah and Israel. But the IMEC part from here to UAE to Saudi Arabia, that is progressing well. In fact, today only I heard a talk by Mr. Shankar, where he says, I'm still betting high on solar, I'm still betting high on green energy and hydrogen and all that. So, and a lot of this is based on the IMEC in UAE and Saudi Arabia. So that part will go. So will Make in India become tougher under Trump? I don't think so, because Make in India is not all encompassing for everything. It's got, different connotations. Make in India, does some fundamental things for us. In fact, the way I look at it, if you do good Make in India, you should be an alternative to China. I mean, like the thing, pens and those things which Mr. Sree showed, zippers and things like that. You start making in India and sending it to USA will gladly take it. Make in India doesn't mean you make only high tech items. You make low tech items, invest into them, subsidize them. Look, use the same Chinese strategy to cut the Chinese and grow. Why? Who's are stopping us? But we want profit from the day one. We want to defraud everyone. We want the highest profit because it's going to USA. So there are methods. So I don't think so. It's an opportunity. Like I said, it's an opportunity. We have not had such an opportunity in a long time. We will have now.
Next one, please. Ammi ho ya beti, bakri ho ya murda, all halal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your generous donation. General Shankar, like you, I'm not over optimistic like others. My top three: get manufacturing contracts, defense contract, fix East and West, Pakistan. Yours.
Yeah, I agree with you. I go with you. I'll add what we need to. I'll add one more thing is what I'll add to this is your diplomatic footprint needs to increase. You got an opportunity here. We shouldn't miss it out. You can throttle Pakistan. There's no doubt. And this is something I'm going to talk day after tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to talk. The subject is the Indian Afghan squeeze, India's Afghan squeeze on Pakistan. We are doing it. And tomorrow we're going to talk of the coercion tactics by Pakistan on, through the Champions Trophy and all that. I'm getting General Hasnain to talk because he's quite an expert on that. So the next 2 3 days is on this subject only of Pakistan, and maybe after that I'm going to talk of Bangladesh. So get back to our channel and we'll discuss this. And this is an open thing for everyone because yeah,
Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. Again, old problem, new perspective. I hope you got your money's worth, your time's worth. Always remember, viewers, General Ravi Shankar is really spending a lot of time and effort because his goal, and mine too, is to educate the future about how things are. Always remember, we are trying to provide you with tools for original thought, organized thought. That means not taking somebody's thing and then swallowing it whole, hook, line, and sinker. You have to look at things from various angles. Then you develop the capacity to make the right judgment because that will help you in your life, in various aspects of your life. That's the whole idea here. Thank you, General Ravi Shankar, and I look forward to
yeah.
many such interesting conversations.
Can I make a small this thing? Look,
Yes, sir.
folks. Yeah, look, why do I take the trouble of talking on, at 9:30 at night when I should be sleeping? I've retired 7 years back and come and spend time, read up on things and talk to all of you with Mr. Sree Iyer. Why should I link up with him? He's sitting USA. Let him sit where he is. Why should I bother? We are bothering because we have a common interest, and that common interest is India, how India progresses. Okay. And I do it at multiple levels. One is this talk. The second, like I said, I keep talking to various industry associations and all that. I also talk to the Forge. When I go, I talk to them in various conferences. I also talk to those who matter in the hierarchy. I also teach youngsters, the next generation in IIT. And I'm seeing how I can orient IIT for getting us the next gen technology because you'll find some of my podcasts are tech oriented, even in Gunner Shot, right? So a whole lot of things we have to do because there's so much to do, and many times I feel we have so much less time to do, right? And I leave it at that. Thanks. Sorry, I butted in.
No, sir. I think we all have the same thought process here, and we want to educate India and make them strong and powerful. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Thanks a lot.